once was this man named Ethan. Now, Ethan grew up in a good household, being taught the Christian way, being taught to be kind, gentle, being taught to give to those who are in need. But yet, as Ethan grew up, he became more and more self-centered. Self-centered in many different ways. Self-centered in the way that he had conversations with people, sometimes trying to dominate the conversation, always trying to get the last word. He became self-centered in the way that he treated others, that it was always about Ethan and not about the other people that were around him. Not even those that he saw that were suffering so much that he gave no care to them whatsoever. And he became more and more self-centered, to the point that his family and Ethan himself had a good reputation at one time. But then the town that he lived in recognized his self-centeredness. And most people did not want to have anything to do with Ethan. One day, one of the town's women came to Ethan and tried to point out to him how he has become self-centered. Of course, somebody that's self-centered doesn't listen to a whole lot of people. And so she said, well, I want you to put on this pendant. This will help you to see how your actions affect other people. Ethan said, sure, I get a free pendant out of it. Awesome. He put on that pendant. And that night, when he went to sleep, he dreamed about all the people that he has affected by his self-centeredness. All those people that needed an ear to be able to hear them, and he spoke instead. All those people that he saw around him that were in need, and yet he was only concerned about his own needs. That night was a nightmare for him. The next morning he woke up and he decided that he will try to become less about himself and more about the others. Now, don't get me wrong, it takes a while to do that. When you become self-centered, it takes time. But as time went along, he didn't make himself the center of his universe anymore, but instead started to serve others. That idea of self-centeredness. Self-centeredness. When we read this gospel today, I think that these tenets are a great representation to us of self-centeredness. That they put themselves first to the point that they wouldn't even give the owner of the land what he was due at harvest time. But not only didn't give him what he was due, but mistreated one of his servants that came to get it, killed another, stoned a third, and did the same after the owner sent even more people. That they became self-centered. Now, of course, these people that we hear, of course, the owner of the vineyard, of course, is a representation of God the Father, and those that he sent out to remind the people to give what is due to God were the prophets. But then he sent his son. And instead of thinking, yes, maybe we should give it some of the produce that he deserves, instead they thought, if we get rid of this kid, we get everything. That he is the heir to this vineyard. And in being heir to this vineyard, if we kill him, then we will get it when the owner dies. So they killed the son. Of course, representation of Jesus Christ. And yet, their self-centeredness did not serve them in the way that they thought. That the owner of the vineyard was then to come and to give them what they deserved, which was not the vineyard. Self-centeredness. In our society today, self-centeredness is sometimes well respected. Self-centeredness is sometimes encouraged for people to think only about themselves, to not think about others, especially not to think about how God wants us to act, but instead making themselves the center of the universe. And in our society, as we know that to be true, it affects each and every one of us. If you don't think that this has affected your heart, you're most likely wrong and haven't looked very closely at your heart. Because what happens around us affects who we are ourselves. And so we have to work against that, to work against being selfish, to work against being greedy, to work against not seeing other people around us. For those are the things that we need to do to be how God has meant us to be, to not be the center of the universe, but to put God as the center of everything and to serve his people as Jesus Christ.